What's up, everybody, and welcome to TinkTink.org interviews. I'm your host, Josh Wilson, here today with Edmund McMillen, artist and game designer extraordinaire. He's behind such games as Time Fakuk, Gish, Super Meat Boy, and The Binding of Isaac, to name a couple. How are you doing today, boss?
Doing all right. Doing all
Awesome,
right.
awesome. All right, so first generic question: how did you first get into gaming?
It's hard to say when I first got into gaming or game development. I mean, like, what introduced me
Just,
to
just,
video
just
games?
playing. We'll start with just playing.
Playing video games. First game I can remember playing was this weird football game that my dad had when I was in the early 80s, when I was a little kid. And you just moved a little red dot around a screen, and there's other red dots you avoided. That was the first game I ever played. I had an Atari when I was 6. Played that a lot, and then I got a Nintendo when I was 9, which was a little late. I was the last kid on my block to get a Nintendo, but that's when it kind of like that was yeah. I was all about video games after that.
Right. So now, second question being, how did you first get into game development?
Um, I was always interested in video games, and I was always interested in like tools and stuff. I used Click and Play a lot and this other weird ASCII art program. I can't remember the name. When I was a freshman in high school, and I was obsessed with level editors like Doom and Duke Nukem level editors, and I made lots of levels. I was pretty obsessive about it. I was always about like I made a lot of comics around then too, so any kind of creative outlet like that was kind of strange that I had a lot of control over. I was pretty into, and but I didn't think that would actually translate to anything else. I didn't think I'd ever be involved in video games at all. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just wanted to kind of be independent, do independent art. I just wanted to be an artist, and it didn't seem like it was going to be possible to be an independent game developer because um, it was my understanding when I was young that you had to be a cog in the machine, and there was tons of people who worked on games, and I don't think that I could build myself up enough to convince other people that my ideas would be good to get behind. So I didn't think it was, a realistic thing at all. But when Flash came out in like the late '90s, I got pretty into that, and I started making interactive Flash comics. Essentially, they were like basic stories and stuff. I wasn't interested in programming. That was kind of another thing too. Is I had no interest in programming, and back in the day, most designers were programmers as well. So it didn't seem like a thing that I could ever do, but I got into Flash enough and befriended some really cool people like Tom Fulp, who later went on to make Alien Hominid and Castle Crashers, and he's a very significant person in video games, period, let alone indie games. But yeah, back in the day, he ran a website called Newgrounds.com, which was a Flash portal, and he hosted a lot of my stuff and liked my stuff enough to put me up as like a featured artist. And I had my own website around that time, and it kind of was like this unknowing transition into video games where like I just blinked and realized, oh, I'm making video games. Like I thought I was making weird cartoons and comics, and suddenly I'm making video games. And it was around that time I had made a few little games in Flash with a friend of mine, Calder, and it was before sponsorship, so we couldn't make any money off of it. I was still just me and my she wasn't my wife then, me and my girlfriend were living in a room with our cats, and I wasn't making any money off it. It was just for fun, and I was working at GameStop on the side and just trying to get by. And it was around that time when I think I was like, I can't just work at GameStop or work at mall kiosks my whole life. I should probably try to do something. And it was around that time I was an animal control officer for a year, and once I lost my job, I tried my best to try to get back into possibly doing art for a living and how that was going to work. Again, I just wanted to do my own stuff, and I knew that it wasn't going to pay the bills, so I decided to just start doing freelance. And I ended up somehow getting connected to a company that was local, just down the street from where I lived, called Chronic Logic, and they had made this game called Bridge Builder, and I knew about it because I had played it because it made the rounds in my little social circle, and so I was pretty impressed. It was a physics-based bridge construction game, which was pretty neat. And I kind of went over there, and I heard that they needed an artist, and I was like, well, I can do art. I've never worked on games before, and this was before I even realized it's like I was making little games, but I just said, I've never made real games. So I just make these weird games, and this is kind of my style. And I think they thought I was a huge weirdo, but nobody else was knocking on their door, so they had me come in and do some box art for them, and do some minor graphics for some of their games that they were working on. And it was around that time when I had been working on a game with Tom Fulp called Serious P-Shy, and around that time he released Alien Hominid, the Flash version, and he said he couldn't finish. He had to stop what he was doing and work on this new Alien Hominid game that he was going to release on console, which seemed like totally insane, but he was going to invest all this money in it, and he was going to really make it happen, and he couldn't work on it anymore. So I got really depressed. I was like, well, that was, Serious P-Shy was going to be my claim to fame. It was going to be the game that I really believed in and I had put a lot of time into. And I was like, well, maybe these guys would be interested in making a game with me with some of the characters that I had created. And one of them was Gish. It was this blob. He wasn't even called Gish then. He was called Dim. But I kind of just pitched this game that was based around the physics that Alex, the programmer, was kind of famous for. And Alex didn't really like the idea, but the other guy eventually convinced him. And once he actually made the physics-based ball, I think he kind of got into it. And we spent the next, I think, around 8 months working on my first legit game, which was Gish. And that was the first game that I ever released and sold. And I realized, I'm a game developer. There's other people that make independent games. There's like literally maybe 50 around that time that were making games, and some of them were making money. And again, this was before Flash sponsorships and stuff like that. So it was this very niche little market. There was a handful of websites that would kind of peddle your stuff to people. I still don't know who the market was for. There was PopCap had just started around that time too, and PopCap was an indie, and they had started making games for a more casual audience, and that's kind of where the money was the casual indie games, which sounds bizarre at this point, but that's what it was back in the early 2000s. Casual indie games were the only way that you could really make money, and the stuff that I was working on was so far from casual, but Gish still did really well, and it kind of opened my eyes to what being a developer was, and got me pretty excited, and I actually really liked the community back then, and just kind of went all in, and from then on I was like, okay, I'm just going to make games from now on.
I'm glad it worked out. So for anyone interested in getting into the gaming field, be it at a company or going indie like you did, do you have any generic advice or any personal advice or anything that can help them out?
Yeah, I know it's the way you say indie developers these days. It's almost become such a cliche of because back in the day, an indie developer was somebody who was making money off of games without a company. But everybody these days, even if they're they have never made a dime off of something, they're still like 1 second, I'll turn off my phone.
No, that's fine.
They're still calling themselves indie developers, but whatever. Back in the day, those were referred to as just amateur game designer, or hobbyists. But I've been called a hobbyist by EA in the past, so that's probably a bad word at this point. Anyway, sidetrack there. My recommendation for people who want to make games and make them themselves would be to figure out exactly what you want out of it. If you're like, hey, I heard people make money off of their independent games, and I want to do that for a living, the high probability that if you haven't ever made anything before this, that you're not going to really make money off of it. It's going to take a while. I don't know of many people who just fall out of the sky and sell their first game and make any money that would matter, which could be a good thing, really, because it prunes out the people who aren't going to make it. It's still a hard, long process and takes many years. You have to build a following, and you have to prove to people that what you're doing has relevance, is fun, or you got to convince people that they should care about what you're doing, which is difficult, especially in this environment now where there's a lot of other people making games that everybody wants everybody to care about. So my recommendation is, what are you in it for? If you're in it for money, then don't do it. If you want money, if you want money and you want to make games, just go work for a company, because then you have more of security. If you're in it because you want to make games because it's fun, then I say go for it. And if you happen to make money off of it, or if you get good enough or well known enough to make money off of it, then that's great. Then that's just you got to already love it. Basically, you got to be in it because you enjoy the idea of making your own games first, and money and success should not be the goal of your initial, like, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because business is booming. Let's hop on that gravy train.
Yeah, I've never in my life seen somebody who got into this because they wanted to make some money, and do it, unless they were just total sleazeball businessmen who made an iPhone game that just abuses the hell out of everybody and juices them for money. Which is fine too. If you want to go down that route, if you just want to make some money and you want to make some business designed bullshit, it's whatever floats your boat, right? Everybody's got to hustle to make a living. Do what you got to do. But
so, assuming someone does not, or they do meet the criteria of a not businessman type of thing, let's say they go the independent route or the hobbyist route or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, the whole no job security, financially, all that stuff.
yeah.
Any tips to survive while you're doing hobo game development, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, what I did, so I didn't make any money off of anything. I mean, even Gish made piddly amounts of money. I think it made me enough to live. Well, I mean, it probably made me about 50 grand over the course of 5 years, which for me wasn't piddly. That was more than enough for me to live through those 5 years, and not really have to work that much because I lived really, really cheap. So I would say live as cheap as you possibly can. If you live at your parents' house, stay there, until they kick you out. Try to avoid paying rent. Eat cheap. Top ramen. Don't eat too much Little Caesars pizza because eventually your gallbladder will go out like mine did. It's live cheap, and don't invest a lot of money. You shouldn't have to invest any money in your first game. You should only be investing time. Don't invest money in something that you have no, there's no evidence that it's going to be a success because you've never done anything. Never jump into your first game and be like, well, I put aside $100,000 and I'm going to pay a bunch of people to do it now. Please don't do that. It's going to end in disaster. Just don't do it. Try to shoestring budget every little thing you're doing until you have a budget to do anything with. And just build a name. Like, make games that show people who you are, because the only thing that you have that's unique is your own life experience and perspective. Like, you only have you. That everybody's seen everything else. So if you just put yourself out there, I really think it'll show, and it'll turn heads, and people will care about it. Try not to do the same old bullshit. Don't just remake the same game that you've seen, but it has a different skin on it or whatever. Try to do something new and exciting that people would care about, and have fun doing it. I really do think if you have a lot of fun doing it, it'll really show in your work. Yeah, I'd say that's my. I mean, I fucking wrote a big old. I can link it and you can put it in the thing. I did this do's and don'ts of game development a while back, and I think it still holds up. and it kind of details like every little bit and piece of advice I could possibly give, because that's by far the most common question I get asked, and I would really like to help, because I've been through this, and it took 10 years for me to build a following, or just stay around. I feel like for me, it's just I stuck to my guns. I was around long enough for people to realize I was here, and eventually the shit just falls into place.
All right. So, speaking of advice, so slumps, people go through them, be it creativity or just, drive to keep on doing stuff if they're working on a game. How often does that happen to you, or if at all? And how do you overcome them?
Um, I'd say I'm going through a slump now. Been a lot of like personal stuff, just family issues, and
Shh, real life, what's all that stuff?
that have definitely taken a toll. And my wife is currently pregnant now, so I'm
Congrats,
I'm
I
definitely
guess.
yeah, I'm definitely changing the way I kind of work, which is difficult, but kind of a welcome change. I've been it's I don't know, almost a cautionary tale in a way. Like there's definitely a downside to every upside for everything, and for me, in order to get to where I am today, I had to sacrifice a lot, and a lot of what I had to sacrifice was I had to obsessively work. It's kind of the person that I am. It's kind of my personality to get as much stuff done and to just push myself forward in the way that I have over these years. I've had to just throw everything else out and only focus on this. And in doing so, it's not really easy to do that when you're married. It definitely causes problems. It causes problems with everything, really. It's easy to neglect everything and just fall into your like own personal loop of self obsession and obsessive work and relevance and money and whatever else. Once the ball gets rolling, it's kind of hard to slow it down. Um, and For me, it's always been difficult. It's always been difficult for me to be idle. I can't feel like I'm idling without feeling like I'm losing it or feeling like I'm completely insignificant. And it's really not about so much. It's not about recognition. And it really isn't about money, but it's more of this feeling of worthlessness. If I'm not creating, what do I have to offer? Like it's kind of something that I struggle with. And right now, I guess I'm struggling with in a way. I'm still working on a bunch of different projects, but I'm not able to work as much as I want to. And I'm starting to see how unhealthy the way I work, or used to work at least, has been. And especially with a daughter on the way, I want to be able to, be there, be in the moment. And that's kind of what I'm shooting for now. Is kind of living in the moment and trying my best to put work into its own little category and not just obsessively be thinking about, you know, an Isaac sequel while I'm having dinner with my wife and child. I want to be there. I want to be there in the moment with them. So, yeah, it's where I am. So I have no pointers. I don't know. I'm living it. I'm living it right now. But I can say definitely if you are like me, um, make sure you're tending to other people's needs. Make sure you try your best to pull away from yourself, and because happiness is more important than anything else, and that's you know it's hard to do. It's hard to do when you're a fucking weirdo like me.
Well, that's why we love you, man. So, uh, yeah, I'm sure you have probably a treasure trove of ideas you've had for games, but maybe might have prototyped them and did nothing else with them, or didn't even get that far. Are there any games like that you would like to pursue later on in the future? Like just a good idea you had and just was never able to act
Yeah,
on it?
I've got I have literally treasure troves of of design documents. Half of them are in my head. I'll forget about them, and then one night I'll remember them, and then have to obsessively scratch stuff down on paper just to kind of get it out so it's there. Um, yeah, I've got at least 10 games that I feel like are significant, important, and fun to work on that I would like to do before I stop making games or die or whatever. But
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, I would say some of the most exciting ones are ones that I'm kind of working on and have on hold. Like Mugenics is a really important game for me that I will finish one day and would love to be able to release. Some other stuff might need to get finished before that, but I'm sure I'll get back into it. And there's another game that I've been working on with someone else for quite a while now, and don't talk about it because I think I've learned my lesson as far as getting people excited about something and then something fucking it up and then disappointing people. So I'm trying not to talk about it, but there's been something that I've been working on with a friend that I feel is very significant. Will probably upset a lot of people, but I think all art should upset some. So, but yeah, I can't say. there's just a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that I would love to do. I don't know what the future will hold. I think in a lot of ways, uh, Rebirth was it was a really good thing for me because I was finally able to uh, just be a designer. Uh, it gives me a lot more freedom. I was always afraid of working with other people and larger groups of people and thinking that it might lose my signature if I didn't do all the work. That's kind of how I've always been, and I'm trying to let go of that a little bit in order to salvage the ideas that have been put on the back burner. And I think if I'm able to do that a bit more, that people will be happier because I'll be able to release more things. And if uh, if Rebirth is a sign of anything, I think it's a sign of me being able to sit back, sit in the designer's chair, and not feel guilt that I'm not doing all the work. Or I don't know if it's guilt or if it's just the fact that I'm some sort of weird control freak. Like I don't know. Like it was a struggle. It was a struggle telling people what to do when I feel like I could just be doing it myself. Why can't I just should draw it, you know? But I can't because I don't have enough time. So we'll see. It was so far so good. Definitely really enjoy working with Nicholas. The whole team's awesome, and I think quite a few, especially Matt, has learned how to draw like me in a better way. I feel like he does me better than I do, so that's always fun.
So you mentioned it a few sentences ago about games and art and expression and whatnot. So yeah, it seems like you don't really hold back when making games. Just off the top of my head, Cunt. That's a nice example. Are
Yep.
there any ideas of games that you've had and kind of went, maybe I shouldn't make that?
I think at some point, everything that I've worked on, I've thought that for a brief moment in time. It's usually the deciding factor in doing it. I it was the one that I was hesitant the most about was Isaac, and that was the one that the only thing that I've ever worked on. I worked on some fucking crazy shit that my wife was like, maybe you'll upset the wrong people, you know, and it was, but it's that danger that makes it feel right. It's the danger that makes me feel like if I'm doing something that might spark a dialogue about something significant enough to move someone, that I'm definitely on the right path. Like I feel like I'm doing something significant. It's more interesting to me. I'm not a fan of being called a racist, misogynist, homophobe, uh, because none of those things are true, and nobody likes to be called things that aren't true. Um, but I definitely enjoy pushing the envelope because I feel like that's what art should do. It should get you talking and possibly open up, your eyes a little bit on different subjects and maybe be a little abrasive and upset some people. But
Well, I'm glad you do it. It makes it more interesting
I'm
games.
upset by things all the time. I think that people just put too much weight on being offended and bothered by things that other people do. I, I am upset constantly by things people say, but that doesn't do anything. It's not a significant thing. It's atrocities happen constantly, and I'm in my own world. I'm in my own bubble, and I don't allow other people's actions to control my emotions. At least I try. But hey, to each his own. I feel like an alien. I feel like other people should share my views. I feel like more people should. I feel lost at times. I don't understand why there aren't more people sticking up for freedom of speech and art in general. I feel like it should be embraced. There's these different perspectives, and I don't know, whatever. I just don't think I don't make games for everybody. I don't. What are you gonna do? I'm not fucking. I'm not a company. I'm just doing this for me. And if you guys like it, great. Like if you don't like it, you don't have to play it, and that's fine. I'm never gonna make a game that is so polished and nice and PC in every way that everybody on Earth is going to like it. It's an impossible thing, and I'm never gonna try to even go there. All I can do is represent who I am and use my voice to the best of my abilities. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. You don't have to buy or look at anything I ever do. I'm not gonna force you. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird to be scared of people who you feel like you're on the same side with, if that makes any sense. I'm an extremely liberal person, um, completely for equality for all, and obviously I don't support rape. Stupid that I have to even say that. And yet I feel like I'm attacked by people that believe the things that I believe more than anything else. And I'm misunderstood more by these people, which is so strange because I feel like these are the people who were like me growing up who've faced hardship and know what it's like to be told, don't look like that, don't act like that, don't be like that. And then I'm being told by these people to not look like that, act like that, and be like that, which is weird. But maybe I'm
Hoodlums
just
getting tattoos and whatnot ruining our country.
it's weird. It's weird. It's like I've never been in a situation where I feel like I'm being treated like I feel like it's the religious right coming in and telling me what I shouldn't say. And it's like, but these people hate these people. But they're acting just like them. I don't get it. But whatever. I mean, I'm here to do what I do, and that's it. And yeah, might ruffle some tail feathers, and understandable. But this is the internet, and can't we all
There's crazier stuff on the internet than this.
yeah, there's people eating shit. Go get upset about that.
Yeah. Or fab to it. It's whatever. It's whatever. We're not here to judge. But I'm assuming with the rape thing, you may be referring to coil.
No, I was referring to the word rape.
Just the word.
Just period, and and its controversial use of the word and or themes in art in general.
Would you ever be opposed to making a game with that as a focus?
If I had some sort of reality to it, and it seems significant to what I was doing, I would never be against using it.
Not just a rape game to make a rape game, I guess.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to make a rape game, but again, I don't want to be the guy that supports people making rape games or using
Yeah.
rape in any way, whatever. But I'm the guy that would definitely be on the side of saying this person has the right to express themselves in whatever way they want, and you don't have a right to try to stop them from doing it. This just goes hand in hand. But I was mostly referring to like Hotline Miami and the controversy that surrounded it, and its in quotes rape scene, which seemed to ruffle some tail feathers. Which I don't know. It's weird. I feel like it shows how video games really are still looked at as toys. That you can show rape in a movie to show how bad something is, to set a tone and show how villainous somebody is and how you want to hate this person and they're bad. But if you put it in a game, it's you've gone too far. And I think that just shows video games are still viewed as toys, little kids' toys, which shouldn't feature things that upset people or whatever. Yet, in music or movies, these kind of themes are explored in an artistic manner and aren't remotely criticized as much as a video game would. So, it's sad, but again, I hate to be the guy who's like, yeah, I support rape in video games. That's not at all what I'm trying to be. I'm just trying to be the guy who says the fact that people would get upset and say that something should or shouldn't be in some artistic expression that somebody else uses in any media, um, they it feels wrong, and it feels not progressive. Um, it feels stunted. It feels like we're going backwards. But whatever. I mean, I was one of the guys that back in the day there was this game called Super Columbine Massacre, and
Hmm.
you've heard of it.
Yeah, it's the RPG.
Yeah. So this game was in this thing called Slam Dance, which Gish was actually a part of, as well as Alien Hominid, I think, back in the day, and we're all going to be shown with it. And no issue there, right? We're all artists, and we understand that everybody has the freedom to express themselves, and he executed it in a way that was interesting. So, kudos, right? Well, some people there had an issue with it, and they decided to pull the game from being shown. And we were one of the people who said, if you pull this game, then we pull ours. And we all pulled our games. What the fuck happened? I don't know. I feel like we've gone into some bizarro alternate universe or something where people don't understand what art is anymore. Everybody's confused.
Sounds like a plot for maybe one of your next games. Explore that.
I think it's been a plot for a few of my games actually.
All right. So if you could pick maybe a little lighter note here, if you could pick a franchise from anywhere to make a game about, what would it be?
Can I choose rape?
Yes. Yes.
No, wait. What was the question? Any franchise?
Yeah, I mean, like, hell, if you're just like, man, Star Wars is cool, it's time to make a Star Wars game and not worried about, a lawsuit. Like, if you could just pick
Oh yeah,
some
okay.
anywhere.
I'd probably do something stupid and be like, I would really love to make a Friday the 13th game, like a good one,
A good one.
like a survival horror type Friday the 13th cheeseball, you know, slasher flick video game. I think that would be cool. I think I could probably come up with some interesting stuff and make it fun. Um, yeah, that would be. I think that'd be my go-to.
Nice.
But I'm a Friday the 13th nerd, so I don't think many will share my vision.
Well, I mean, he's in the new Mortal Kombat, I think, right?
Is he?
It's somebody with a mask.
I'm out of the
Or is,
loop. I wouldn't doubt that it's him because then they put Freddy in one.
yeah, Jason. Yeah, he's in the new one. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So maybe now is the prime time to be making that game.
Let's get in there.
The market's
Yeah, but
hot.
I mean, I don't think I would. I'm the kind of guy who just I'd do too weird. I'd rather just make up my own kind of character that would be in the same vein and not have to worry about using somebody else's IP. But
Mhm.
you can't
So,
you
go
can't
ahead.
go wrong with Jason though.
Nope.
He is underrated.
He's been in space, man. I mean, come on. So, does Chad actually stand for anything?
Yeah, it does.
What does it stand for?
I can't say.
Oh God, how come?
It'll change the ESRB of Super Meat Boy,
Ah,
and it'll upset way too many people. I've learned. I've learned that definitely that would be upsetting to many. It would get on all of the news sites. All the news sites.
they'd be praising your artistic courage.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody would back my freedom to say what I want. right? Everybody would be all about it. They would say, "Listen, he's not a bad guy," and they would use the context of the fact that I'm not, and examples of this, and they would write up this really cool post about how, like, oh yeah, like he's not a bad guy because obviously he's for this and this because he represents it in his games, and everybody would use logic, and the whole world would become a perfect place. That's exactly what's going to happen. I feel it.
Feeling your bones.
Yeah.
So, will you tell us what it means? Maybe like, when you're 90 years old on your deathbed, type of thing.
Oh, for
Whisper into
sure.
somebody's
Yeah,
ear.
that'll be the last thing I say, and
Well,
I'll finally reveal what Isaac's really about.
uh. So, speaking of that, do you ever plan on maybe in the expansion coming out or in the far future, who knows, of Isaac having like a definitive ending, like nothing up for speculation, no interpretation needed, just like an actual end, or would you like to just kind of keep it, left open for discussion?
I see. For me, I feel like there has been a definitive answer. I feel like it is. Def- there's so many stories. There's so many themes. There's so many things going on in the game that kind of parallel each other that it's hard to say. Like I feel like the story of Isaac is pretty clear cut at this point. Um, as
I mean,
far
it was
as
made into a book, right?
oh, yeah, there you go. But yeah, but it is like there are different stories. It's like what the biblical tale tells, and what is told through Isaac's drawings. That's a story there. What's actually going on, what is being told through different cutscenes with Isaac in reality, and then there's the disjointed timeline of things, which I feel like can be very easily just placed back together in order, and you can figure out, okay, this is what's going on. Um, but there are a lot of other just themes that are undefined, which I feel should be left undefined, and a lot of other minor, I wouldn't say story arcs, but minor aspects of who Isaac is, what he's been through, and what makes the story what it is, being told through the levels that you go through, the things that you fight, the items that you pick up, and I feel like it's been told. It's told through gameplay better than I could explain in a story. There's just an unspoken feeling there that I think that the game tells well enough for me not to have to define it. But conceptually, just like the global story wise, I feel like if we do a sequel, it will be pretty obvious how the game ends if it's not obvious to everybody already. But yeah, I haven't written the ending to the expansion, so I don't know exactly which direction I'll go with it. So who knows?
Yes. Well, looking forward to it regardless. Uh, so, success. Money's nice when it comes to eating and whatnot. Uh, how's it been in other aspects of your life? Do you regret being successful? Or are you happy with it?
I don't want to say I regret being successful because this is what I.
Financially successful, then I guess.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. Financial success is great. It artistically gives me a lot of freedom. If Meat Boy wasn't a financial success, there would have been no Isaac. I would not have allowed myself to have the freedom to do something like that, to do something really risky and weird. And I'd like to think a lot of the other stuff that I'm working on, aside from Meat Boy sequel type stuff and the possible Isaac sequel, other stuff that I've been working on, I feel like has a good amount of artistic merit and risk taking that I feel like it could not have been done without some sort of security net financially. Uh, but money, it also causes problems. Like I've had issues with people that I've worked with in the past. There's been lawsuits threatened and a bunch of bullshit. Last year was kind of horrible for me, and it definitely changes the way you kind of basically who your real friends are when you get money, because you got people who try to use you for your money, family members and whatnot. People just come out of the woodwork with their hands open. And it's like, who are you? I had the best story is I had a girl who I went to high school with who was not friends with In fact, she was not really nice to me. And she had messaged me on Facebook and asked me if I could pay her mortgage for the month. And I was so blown away by this. It was astounding, but it wasn't that uncommon. I've had random emails from people I went to school with saying, "Hey, you just think you're so much better than me now, huh?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "I saw you the other day and you didn't wave at me when I waved at you." And I didn't see you, but it's nice that you like jump to this crazy conclusion of who you think I am now. And I feel like in a lot of ways, success kind of it fucks with other people. It somehow makes you look like you're gloating or something, and it's so far from what I'm all about. It's disturbing. So, if anything, my success has made me more reclusive, like I wasn't already reclusive. But I'm lucky enough to have befriended a few pretty good friends that I am pretty close to, and I'm good with those friends, and that's it. But yeah, financial success has been it's the obvious positives are there. I knew those obvious positives would be there if I was going to become rich. But I didn't know about the negatives. I think they balance each other out in the end, but it does definitely suck to lose friends and family just because you're treated differently and they treat you like a banker or you just judged. It's a weird situation, and it's not really something you can talk to people about because the last thing somebody who's wealthy wants to do is complain about their wealth because of course that's going to make you look real good. But
So the secret is just don't let anybody know. Just
yeah, don't let anybody know. Don't let anybody know. They'll never know. But yeah, I'm not the kind of person who buys anything fancy. It's just not in my blood. I've got money in the bank, and I try to invest accordingly. I'm not good with money. I, I've been poor my whole life. I was very poor growing up, uh, and the idea of spending money frivolously scares the shit out of me, and I don't do it. I mean, it even causes issues with my wife as far as her buying something not even expensive, but just buying something, and it's just at my core, I'm still the guy who is freaking out about how much money is in the bank and if how much more work I need to get freelance wise in order to pay next month's rent and how fucked we are losing sleep over it. That it's I mean, still after what 5 years, I'm still in that place where it's hard for me to spend money. Which makes me hate the situation even more when people are treating me like that. They treat me differently, but I feel like I'm not any different. In my head, I'm still the same old person. But yeah,
so that
I,
hasn't affected your how you develop games any differently.
no, I mean, like I said in the beginning, like financial success is affected. It's given me freedom. It's
Right.
freedom to take bigger risks, which is the major positive, definitely. But perceived success outside of the financial aspect is a really weird thing too, which I think I found out, especially after the movie, that I am not the kind of person who enjoys that. I don't know who is. It's weird. I don't get anything from it. It. I wish I did, and I feel like a big weirdo when people come up to me. They're like, "Oh, like," or if I'll be out with my friends and someone will come up and say, "Hey, I loved Isaac" or whatever. I want to shake your hand, and then people are like, "Oh, that must be awesome," and I'm like, "No," and I feel like it. If I feel like an idiot because should I feel different? Should feel better than I do. Like I'm just not built for it. Like I wasn't built for this. I wasn't built for this at all. I was built to just be a reclusive weirdo who makes weird stuff, and I just happened to fall into this and I gained success in other people's eyes. And in a lot of ways, I'm like some weird poster boy for independent games, and it's so bizarre because I'm just a regular old person who happened to make weird stuff and find success. And
I mean, I think that's what is kind of the, I guess, the draw to it is, you are a normal dude and you did something cool. So I don't know. You're like, I don't know. Maybe people see you as like a hopeful type way. It's like, hey, he's a normal dude. I'm a normal dude. I'm gonna do something too. Yeah.
yeah, I can understand. I can definitely understand that because I've looked up to so many different people in the same way, which is great. It's just I I wish I was better built for it. I wish I was. I'm just not used to it, or I don't know. Again, I hate to feel like a complainer. Like I hate to be the guy who's complaining about these things, and I'm not really. It's just there are definitely uh, there are personality types that revel in this, and I've found that I'm not the personality type that fits this bill as far as like really enjoying these types of success. The types of success that I enjoy the most are feeling good about something that I've created, and you know completely disregarding reviews and opinions of others, but it's like the feedback of myself of like, oh, I pushed myself, I did something, I'm very proud of it, it feels really good, and I feel successful in what I was doing. I don't get much from oh, my game sold this many copies, or oh, I got a big paycheck. It's never a big deal to me. It's um, a perfect example was I was recently posting on Twitter about this project that I worked on with a bunch of other friends of mine who are also developers, called the Indie Cube, and it was a Magic themed set that we designed in a month, that we just made to be played between us, and me and a few of the guys, and Laura as well. We all worked on it really, really hard, and me, George, and Andy worked on it obsessively and put lots of hours into it. And I still have such fond memories of working on it, even though it yielded nothing. It not only didn't make us any money at all, it cost money to actually produce. Lots of time, lots of money, and in the end caused lots of controversy and heartache for the people involved, because it was considered a controversial thing because people didn't understand the way it worked, the way the game works, and they took things very, very wrong, very badly. And but I love it. I still look at it as a big achievement. Like I love that type of artistic investment, and that's the stuff that I feel successful when I do. I feel like a success when I'm able to execute things like that.
All right. So, Super Meat Boy. Um, when he was first designed, did you have him in mind as actually being made of meat, or did he only become a boy without skin after the PETA thing?
Oh no, he was always a boy without skin
All right, so it's
from the
just
beginning.
just
So like,
PETA being PETA.
yeah, no, they didn't really, But when does PETA do their homework? I don't.
Who
doesn't
cares?
doesn't happen. I mean, I still think to this day, like, the PETA thing was one of the crowning achievements. It was that was a success. Like that
Yeah.
was a defining moment for me, where it's like, oh my god, that happened. That's amazing. Like that's so insane that this company would take the time to do this. And it's hard for me not to look back and feel like it wasn't really a jab. I mean, obviously it wasn't a jab, because it wasn't correct as a jab. I feel like it was just that they saw a video game that was viewed as successful, and they saw that it was meat related, and they were going to use it to talk about what they want to talk about, which is great because that means that it was successful. Like that means that it was relevant enough in pop culture for a company to do that to. Like they did that to Mario and stuff. It's like that's a huge honor. Um, but yeah, Meat Boy was always a skinless boy, uh, and the way I design characters is kind of, I tend to design the heroes having major flaws, like extreme flaws. Like you've got Isaac, who's a naked little child who cries at things, and then Meat Boy, may have superhuman jumping abilities, but you know he's skinless, he's bleeding everywhere, and it's a painful visual. And so yeah, definitely. In the original, you can actually see he's a skinless boy easier. If you go back to the Flash game and you like zoom in, you can see his ribs. You can see his rib cage and stuff like that. So it looks more apparent.
All right. So in the original Binding of Isaac, you worked with Danny and Florian,
Yeah.
but they were not involved in Rebirth. Um,
Well, you
any
could say that Florian was definitely involved, because they reused all of his code. Like they rewrote all of his code, and they were referencing it constantly. He did help some development aspects in the beginning, where it came to kind of showing the lead programmer, who I believe is also from Austria. They actually met up and they kind of went through his code because he needed to explain everything because he's a
Because
very self-taught programmer, so he does things his own specific way, and he had to kind of explain to him what everything was.
comments be damned.
Yeah, well, you're gonna interview him as well, right? So he'll probably feel.
I actually did that earlier today. So
Okay, cool.
all right. So an Isaac exporter. I know that was announced before the game came out. You know, like, oh, export your Isaac after he's been uh, mutated or whatever you want to call it. Still plans for that?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that in development. I think we just got lost in all the feature creep stuff. Um, honestly, it's not a high thing to do in the expansion. But if we have enough time, we're trying to finish it by at least by the end of the summer. We need to get out by the summer. So if we have time, we'll do it. If not, maybe it'll come later. But it would be awesome. It definitely was something on my wish list.
All right.
I want to have full support for it. I want you to be able to, like, a little Twitter icon where it's like, show what your Isaac looked like, and untweet it, and then export an image and post it. So,
Um, well, have you ever considered putting your wife and I guess now your daughter in any of your games?
um, I mean, in a way, Danielle's been in almost everything. I mean, she's Bandage Girl. I'm still so used to calling her Band-Aid Girl, which was one of the minor changes in the console version. We had to change her to Bandage Girl because Band-Aid is a brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, Danielle is Band-Aid Girl, and so she's kind of been in everything that I've done. You can find her in the background too. If you look really close in some of the levels in the second chapter of Super Meat Boy, there are like pinups of fetuses, and one of the fetuses has her hair. So yeah, I mean she bleeds into every little thing that I do. So there's a piece of her everywhere. I'm sure my daughter will eventually inspire something if she's not already.
All right. So yeah, interview questions and whatnot. I'm sure questions I've asked you already, you've probably been asked 1,000 different times. Do those ever get old? Do you just kind of wish they would stop? Are there any questions that nobody asked that you wish would have gotten asked? Or...
I haven't done an interview in a while, so sometimes it's nice to reflect back on the old questions and feel like, how can I answer this now, from where I am in a new light or whatever. So I wouldn't say it gets old. I mean, back in the day when me and Tommy were doing a million interviews, we would get the dumbest repeat questions when it came to Meat Boy, and we'd have fun making up new stories for, a different answer every single time was the goal. But yeah, so I like to have fun with just about everything I do, so it doesn't get old. It's fine, and I don't. It's hard to think of a specific question that I would want to be asked. I've been asked so many questions. Sometimes I do. I enjoy the more deeply analytical questions, the harder questions, the more difficult questions. The more difficult and challenging, the better, because then it gets me thinking and it's more fun to answer.
What's your favorite color?
Let me
Just
think about that one.
full of those super deep existential questions and whatnot.
Yeah, it's too hard. Can't answer it.
All right, we'll come back to another day. So, what's been your favorite game or the funnest game or most fun you've had working on a game?
The most fun I've ever had working on a game was Meat Boy. The Meat Boy development was really fun.
Now, Meat Boy or Super Meat Boy?
Super Meat Boy. Actual Meat Boy development, I think that happened in only a few weeks. It was really quick. Super Meat Boy development with Tommy was a roller coaster ride. So crazy, and the development was so fun. We had a lot of fun with it, and it was kind of one of those situations where we were both in such a shitty place at the time, and there was just so much going on that I think working on the game was a major escape. And there was just so much. I felt like the world was against us making that game, so we were united and fighting and attempting to succeed. So it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with it, even the ups and downs. Man, there were some major downs in that development cycle. But yeah, like it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of fun to work on for sure.
So besides Isaac and Meat Boy, any of your older games like Triagnid or Cunt or anything like that that you could see a sequel coming out for?
Of all the games that I've worked on in the past, there are two games that I really feel were very special and very well designed that I would like to expand on, and those games are Ether and Timefuck. Those are the two. Those are the only two games that I would ever really go dive back into, and I feel like would have a significant amount of stuff to work with and stuff to say and stuff to play with. That would be a lot of fun to do, and I actually have full design documents for both of those games. So one of these days, you'll see both eventually. Um,
So I'm not going to get to see a vagina shoot at a giant penis.
yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully. So speaking of that game, is cunt sexist or are people overanalyzing things? And I asked Florian the same question today and got an interesting response.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. He yeah, he's that guy's an open book. If he's in an uncensored state, he's gonna say some upsetting things. Uh, Cunt is cunt sexist. Okay, so I went into this game trying to make a dick joke. That's all the game is. It's a giant dick joke, and I really like drawing folds and skin flaps, so like anatomy and that sort of stuff too. I really enjoyed drawing all the monstrous vaginas. And me and Florian made that game in less than 2 weeks, I believe. And it was literally just I want to see I want to do something really risque. I want to do something pornographic that is so weird and beautiful at the same time. Like something super gross that looks beautiful. And I still say that like to this day the art in that game is some of my best work. I paid a lot of attention to detail. And it's an homage to the stuff that I used to do in high school. It was very angsty and yucky, and I really like yucky things. I think gross things are beautiful, and that was all the thought that was put into it. And when I was designing the game, it was designed around a mothership and a little ship, and you were fighting the mothership. That's the basic of it, the basis of it. Like it was a reskin of that basic little ship versus mothership battle where there's one opening that you got to shoot into, and every other fucking classic thing, even Star Wars had, you gotta. There's one opening you can penetrate, and when you can hit the core from there. And I thought, hey, a vagina, right? That's got a hole. Yeah, perfect. What shoots? A dick shoots. That's as far as it went.
Nailed it.
So, of course, I didn't think anything of it. We just shot this game out, and nobody really cared. And then some time passed, and got some some negative response. And I can totally see why people would be upset and think the things they do. I completely understand. And if you want to think that because I'm an immature weirdo who likes drawing gross things, if that makes me anything other than what I am, that's whatever. That's your prerogative. Do as you will. But if I intended to make a fucking sexist game, trust me, you'd know. Everybody would know that it was a sexist game.
That'll be the game after the rape game, right?
I guess, yeah. I'm really not a sexist person. In fact, I grew up with a lot of very, very strong women. Been surrounded by them, and it's just not really in me to be that type of guy. I guess you'd say. Like I feel no animosity towards women in any way, and I'd probably be more the guy that would hate on a man because I've had more negative father figures than mother figures, for sure. I've been always close to my grandma and my mother and my wife. But it is weird. I mean, I almost buy into the conspiracy because I remember I remember seeing, you see these random videos of like, oh, Edmund McMillen's a sexist. Let me tell you how, and like, it breaks down this, piece by piece thing. It's very believable, and it does seem like I've got some weird issues with women because I mean, I switched a man with a woman in Isaac, right? And it was in the story in the Bible, it's a man, and I switched it with a woman. So obviously, I've got some preoccupation with that. But for me, it was as simple as I grew up with women, and I couldn't put a father figure in the role because I didn't have one. So it felt wrong to me. It felt incorrect for me to have a character that's loosely based around me have a dad that is doing this because I was always with my mom. So again, I did not have a negative childhood when it came to the way my mother treated me. My mom always treated me really well. So I wasn't my intention, but definitely can see the connection. I can definitely see the connection. There's the times too where I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna design this character, and then I'll think for a second like, oh, what will people say about that? And I'm like, whatever. I mean, it's genuine. I'm being genuine here, and I'm not gonna apologize for it. So maybe I do got some deranged shit going on up there that I'm completely unaware of, but I don't think so. I think my wife would probably point it out.
Well, yeah. Florian's response was, "Yes, it is sexist. I hate women." So
Yeah, yeah, that sounds
greatest response ever.
right. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I am I am not a an activist in when it comes to these things. I guess I could be an activist when it comes to freedom of speech and art, but I don't even have enough time and effort in order to be that type of person, to go and scold other people for what they're doing and call other people out on, Twitter or whatever else on the fact that they're not supporting what art means and trying to censor other people or whatever else. I just can't invest the time in doing so. I'm not that type of person. I just do weird shit and just say, hey, I'm maybe there are parts of me that are fucking awful. I mean, I believe there are. I'm sure that every little person out there has really dark parts of them that are really awful, that if other people knew about, it would really upset them. And I'm positive I've got those things too. And maybe those things are bleeding through. And maybe I really hate women, but I don't understand what significance that has because I'm not trying to hurt women. It's not my goal. It's not my goal to make anybody else feel bad. It's mostly my goal to figure out what the fuck I'm doing and figure myself out. It's a personal thing and has very little to do with anybody else. I do this stuff because I'm trying to explore who I am and figure out why I might have the preoccupations that I do and these different things, and I'm trying to enjoy doing it. In a lot of ways, my work has always been kind of visceral and helped me explore aspects of who I am to try to figure out and maybe get a little better and have a better understanding of people in general. So I guess I can't say that people are wrong. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. And I am who I am. What are you gonna do? String me up. Kill them all, I say. I definitely don't like people, so that's got to come through, right? Like, I am not a fan of people. Period. I think that's very apparent in my work. Very, very apparent. Let's just lean on that. I do not discriminate when it comes to how much I don't like you guys. People.
Right. So, quick.
People, am I right? Right? People.
Exactly.
You guys are broken. I'm totally including myself in this. I am one of you. I am one of you. One of the broken animals.
So Nintendo, they finally cracked. Yay. How do you think this is going to change things for you and all developers who, wanted to publish stuff on Nintendo and whatnot?
I don't think it's gonna change anything. I think it's just Isaac. What else was getting rejected? I don't know. I don't.
I mean, it seemed like one of those things they were kind of strong, felt strongly about, like, oh no, religious stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might just be a money thing.
I
Nintendo.
mean, it's great. I mean, I don't know. Like it's a large company with a lot of people who are saying yes and no to a lot of different things. I heard for the longest time that it was like Isaac was everybody loved it, and it was just not getting through. It's just barely getting through there. And I remember the first one was like, well, once you get an ESRB and you get it, and you don't get an AO, then they'd be more inclined to do it. And then there was just still it just always felt like we were just right on the cusp of them saying, okay, we'll do it. And for whatever reason, they finally did. It could have been the persistence of Tyrone. It could have been the outcry. It could have been. It's not a financial thing because honestly, Nintendo's not making jack shit from the games that are going up there. It's not the way it kind of works in that industry. But it could have been a perspective thing overall. Like they want to change their image a little bit with a few people. But how realistically it's just a handful of people that even know about this sort of thing. So can't be that either. It could be Dan Edelman, who campaigned for the game for the longest time. He doesn't work there anymore, though. But it could be a changing of the guard, that happens every once in a while. There's a bunch of new people that get funneled in, and one person wants to change the image of the company and go in a different direction. Or it could just be that, we got lucky. I have no idea. I don't think it's as significant as other people think. I think it's just a situation where they said, nah, I don't know. Okay, and we made it through. It's awesome. It's awesome to finally be on a Nintendo console, multiple Nintendo consoles. I mean, Nintendo. It's definitely another I guess bucket list thing or whatever. It's on my list of things that I definitely want to do. Gets a little closer.
Just need to get on an NES cartridge now and call it a day.
Someone printed Super Meat Boy on just the image on an NES cartridge and sent it to me, which was pretty fucking cool. I have that in a curio. But yeah, cool. It's very cool. All I can say is it's great. It's great that that's happening. I wish there was something more exciting to say about it other than the fact that they just changed their mind and now you get to play Meat Boy. You get to play Isaac on Nintendo consoles.
Old man Nintendo's getting hip.
Yeah. I really think a lot of what. So just industry perspective here, and this is something I don't think a lot of people talk about, possibly because it's NDA rules or whatever else. But I don't think I'm breaking anything by saying this. My experience working with larger companies is that larger companies, especially companies that have half their company run from overseas, their communication is very complicated. It delays things for a very, very long time. Things get messed up, and things are just harder to do. I remember when we were going to do Meat Boy on PS 2, 3. I don't remember what we were then. On a Sony system. And we actually had the development kit and everything. And we were developing for it, and we kept emailing them and saying, okay, you guys going to do this? Because Microsoft wants us to sign an exclusivity agreement. We want to know if you want this or not. We just didn't hear back. And they just fell off the radar. Now, I don't even think they realized they gave us a kit. It is just the chaos of this giant company, and you're just talking to one person who's just a little teeny bit of this company. And it's just so easy for things to get fucked up internally. I think that sometimes is what it is when these situations, when something like this happens, it's just a communication issue with a large company. And sometimes it's really hard for them to wrangle all their people in order to get something done. Some old shit gets in place and it seems to work. And if it's not broke, they don't fix it. I mean, I think Nintendo does that a lot, even with their systems.
So, I'm a fan of Indie Game the Movie and documentaries in general. Will we ever see you in another type of documentary, or do you ever plan on doing maybe dev videos or something like that while working on games?
No, I don't think so.
One and done.
I think it just goes with the fact that I don't enjoy okay, the movie was great. I did it because they were asking me to do it, and they were really nice. The the people who made the movie were really, really a pleasure to be around. And in a lot of ways, the development cycle was so stressful. It was nice to have a support system like them. Like it was nice to just have friends around who seemed to care enough of what you're doing that it was, they were recording you. Um, and they were just nice. They were just nice people. Um, I'm just not a fan of that kind of spotlight. Really, it doesn't do anything for me, like I mentioned earlier. So I don't really. I mean, I enjoy doing interviews like this from time to time, mostly to kind of talk about what I'm thinking about or whatever else. It gets to enough people for them to understand the context of who I am, where I'm coming from, and in hopes that they don't read something that sounds bad and assume something about me that probably isn't true. But yeah, I don't, I don't get anything from it, so I don't see myself wanting to do it. I've gone up to schools and stuff and talked about game design. I do enjoy doing that, and like I said, stuff like this, I do enjoy. So I like talking, and I like talking about games and game development and whatever. So that aspect, sure, but another documentary, no, I don't think so. The funny thing is, and not a lot of people know this, but Indie Game the Movie was one of like 4 documentaries that came through and interviewed me. There was another documentary that came out that nobody saw. I can't even remember what they ended up calling it. It was called like Those Game Developers or something. And she was the lady who made it. Was one of the first people to approach me about it, and it was right when we were just starting development of Super Meat Boy, like right when we were just getting like deals with Nintendo and stuff. And she came over and interviewed me and for quite a while, and it took like 5 years for that movie to finally come out, and she ended up removing me from the movie because I was already in another movie and she didn't want to connect the 2 movies or something. I'm not too sure. I never even saw the footage that she got. But then there were 2 other places that kind of came through. That one of them worked for like GamePro before I think they went under, and they were doing like a mini documentary series on different developers. And then there was another one that was like a kind of like a channel or something, like some sort of internet channel that was going to do mini docs on game developers. So it was kind of like this big explosion at the time. Like indie games were just booming, and there were so many people who had caught wind of this, and they were going to jump in and find the people who were doing this and talk to them. And we just lucked out. I mean, I always knew from the very beginning that Indie Game the Movie was going to be the one. Like that was going to be the significant one, because I could tell their vision was very. There was a lot of drive. It reminded me a lot of what we were doing. It was like we were working in a parallel with them. They were working on their project that they love, and they were putting a lot of heart and a lot of time and effort into it. And who knows if they would make profit off of it. They were just doing it because they felt like it was significant, and they did a really fucking good job. They did a really good job. They were, and I'm sure they'll do great things too. But they just had a baby as well. Well, I don't have my baby yet, but they had theirs. So it's pretty funny to go on Facebook and see these extremely professional baby videos. Like these like wonderfully edited and beautifully shot baby videos.
I mean,
pretty funny.
What else kind of baby videos would you want?
Exactly. They are the baby video masters.
Awesome. So, you don't like the graphics or the work you did graphically for the original Binding of Isaac. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, not anymore. It's hard to look at.
Yeah. So, how come? I mean, a lot of people, or this might just be me, might be my own opinion. I don't know. I kind of like the vector graphics, even though it wasn't detailed. But was that the reason?
It was sloppy as fuck. Like, Florin probably mentioned the fact that we put that game together in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get that amount of illustration work done in that amount of time, I had to work really fast. You can look at Isaac's head; it looks deformed. Like one of his arms is bigger than the other arm. There's no symmetry there. It's so rough around the edges. Like it was so hacked together. Ugh! Like the backgrounds look muddy as fuck. The perspective is completely incorrect. Like there's just so many aspects to it visually that I feel like are just yuck. Like, I didn't think that when I did it. It felt like I was doing enough to get by, and people would be fine with it and probably forgive the rough around the edges look, because it's weird either way. Um,
I mean,
but
they're walking vaginas shooting lasers. I mean,
yeah,
we can overlook the iron, I guess. Have other things to look at.
but yeah, it was a rush job, and it shows for me. It's great that other people think that too, but I really do think that if you had no memory of the way that it looked, and I gave you a shot of Rebirth and a shot of the old game, you would think the old game looks like shit, and I believe that wholeheartedly. People tend to sensationalize their memories of things. Like if you've got like these moments in your life or video games or movies that you really loved, you tend to make it look really really good. And I think that a lot of people's memories are making the old version look a lot better than it actually did.
Yeah, I mean, I actually procrastinated some interview stuff today because I was playing Rebirth, and I went back and played a little bit of the original. And yeah, it is definitely uh, nostalgia. You know, my nostalgia glasses are on, but yeah, I like
Yeah.
them both. Fuck it. So, any horror stories, or it doesn't even have to be a horror story, any nice, unicorn and rainbow stories, or anything interesting that has happened during the development of one of your games. Maybe, like, oh, maybe a homeless man ran in and shat on our computer. Just something like that.
um, I mean, a lot of the Super Meat Boy development stuff that I can't legally talk about because of NDA is fucking harsh as all hell and couldn't be shown in the movie because of the same stuff. Like there were some really horrible things that happened during development on the business side that made us feel like we were going to not make any kind of profit off of our investment. And in fact, I feel like we were told that many times by quite a few people. And there was a phone call, an infamous phone call I got, somebody telling me something very bad was going to happen when it came to our financial situation in the game. And I was destroyed by it. I remember screaming at this person on the phone, "You're fucking us," yada yada yada. And they just said this business and this is what's happening. And the worst part was having to tell Tommy because I knew that he was even low. He was so low at that point, and he's diabetic, and when this sort of shit happens, it gets danger. His sugar gets dangerously low when he's really stressed out and stuff. And I had to kind of call him and tell him like, some bad shit's gonna happen that might kind of fuck us over financially, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I had to call his mom first and say, you got to drive over to his house
Make sure
because
you have some glucose tablets.
yeah, because and I think the prep made it a lot easier, and he didn't take it as bad. It was almost like we laughed about it and said, we kind of knew this was going to happen because we were going to get fucked in some way, and we were going to get fucked because we were getting fucked left and right. And
Turn the fuck into a fuck you too moment.
but yeah, no, in the end, it didn't really matter because it sold well, and it sold a lot better on Steam. So it didn't. It did the thing I can't talk about. Wasn't as incredibly horrible as it seemed that it was going to be when it happened. And this was all happening like days before release, so it was fucking horrible. It's another reason why like when I jumped into Rebirth development with Tyrone, and I told him flat out right from the beginning, I said, you can put this on whatever console you want to put it on, so you can make back your investment and you can make us some money. But I don't want to be involved in any business stuff at all. Like, he's a business guy. He can talk to these people. He can deal with these people. I have a really hard time not feeling betrayed by somebody when it's hard for me not to let somebody in and feel for them and attach emotion to them, and it's really hard for me to deal with people who can detach and say it's just business, like you're hurting me significantly here, you're fucking us over, that we're not wealthy people and we're dying over here, and you can just say, no, deal with it, you have no say, that sort of thing. um, I can't deal with those type of people. I can't. I'm just not good with business. I've made some stupid business decisions when it comes to working with, different people, where I've been overly generous, and it's come back to haunt me. I'm just bad. I'm bad when it comes to business stuff. I'm really not good, and it's good to have somebody else dealing with it. And that's why another reason why I think Rebirth development was so effortless for me, because I didn't have to deal with the shitty aspect, which is business, because business sucks. It has nothing to do with art, and I'm not good at it.
Right. Yeah, that sounds scary. No, I'm totally going off subject quick. I'm a type 1 diabetic myself, and when I get stressed, my blood sugar goes high. So, yeah. But
Yeah.
who cares? Anyways. So, why should we as players be excited about the new Isaac expansion? If you were to, have a pitch for it.
Yeah. You should be excited because there's some stuff that I've been working on design wise that I think could significantly raise the amount of stuff that you can do in the game. Um, well, regardless, the main game that you've already been playing is going to be deepened even more if that could, if that could even happen at this point. But there's shitloads more items, shitloads more enemies, bosses, and things to do and alternate ways to complete the game. But the most exciting thing for me, as somebody who plays my own game and actually really enjoys it and plays it a lot, and my wife plays it more than me, she plays it a lot. I The other game mode that I've designed for it, I feel like will be a significant addition, a very significant addition, like possibly warranting buying the whole game again. Of course, we're not going to be charging the whole price again, but I think it'll be significant. At least I hope so. It's not fully implemented at this point, so I like to believe in my design enough to know that it's going to be fun and it's going to be different enough to make you feel like you're playing the same game, but you're playing something completely new. Um,
So will the people, was it the Platinum God achievement? I think, are they gonna
oh
have
yeah,
to get a new achievement?
yeah. I got to come up with a new name for that. Yeah, there's definitely going to be another 111%. No, I already did that. 100. That's 666%, Maury. I'm a 660% sure that you will like the Afterbirth expansion. No, yeah, I'll put something in there. I don't know. It'll be good. Trust me. I believe in this expansion as much as I believe in Rebirth when we were working on it. So I and I am a fan of the game. So I think that everybody will like it.
That's good. so so Rebirth is pretty freaking huge. There's a lot of content in it. Like, how do you put even more in there without it, like feeling stale, or just coming up with it in the first place? Or is this?
When it comes to honestly, when it comes to enemies, it's almost like the more the fucking merrier. When it comes to items, I gotta be a bit careful because I hate redundancy. I feel like it's a cheap way to do things. I don't want to just do a bunch of items that feel like another item but are a little bit different. So it was a challenge to come up with 100 plus new items for this expansion. Um, and I did reach out to the community, and they helped me design 10 of the items, um, which I think are actually pretty cool. The community designed items are some of the cooler items for sure, and but it doesn't go stale. Like these kind of games, like this genre of game overall, the more you add to it, the better it gets. You can't, unless you make some really fucking horrible mistakes and just screw the pooch. I think it's the more the merrier. It really is. Like the more you add, the better things get. Um, I feel for the people who are just jumping into it and don't have a full understanding of every little bit and piece from the beginning, because I know a lot of people that are really big fans just know everything, and then they know what's new and what's not new and whatever else. But you got to have a pretty good fucking memory at this point to remember what 400 or 500 sub plus items are. What they do. It's hard for me to remember. Like there are still to this day some Rebirth items where I don't remember exactly what I had designed for their minor aspects. Like most items have obvious aspects, but then usually went through, and even some of them have these really subtle little things that do change things. I just can't remember. I can't fucking remember what they are at this point. Like I've gotten to the point where it's a critical mass of item memory, and I don't know. Maybe there will be a sweet spot. Like maybe there'll be like, if we ever expand again and we get to like 666 item, maybe that's the sweet spot. Who knows? But so far, it doesn't feel bloated and it doesn't feel stale. Um, and I feel like I understand, as a player, I understand what would add more and make it significant enough to play more. And I think I'm doing that. But yeah, after this point, like honestly, if I were to do another expansion after this, it would quite literally be just maybe a new character, maybe like a 99-cent expansion that's like a new character that has, full unlocks for it. Something little and easy, just like that. I couldn't take this game and expand on it as much as I'm expanding on it now again without making a sequel. Which in a way, this expansion has kind of inspired the bubbling of a sequel. If it works the way that I want it to work, if I test it and it works in the way and people like it, I feel like I could kind of riff off that design and come up with something that could warrant a sequel.
Do you ever see yourself going back and working on Vanilla Isaac?
Like Florian did?
Yes.
No, technically I did work on it a little with him. I had to go through and edit all the little bits and pieces to make it look better and give him some graphics here and there for things, which was, again, it's just so hard to look at, so it's hard for me to work on. But I think it's pretty fun that he was having fun with what he was doing with the game, and I actually think a lot of what he was working on is pretty interesting. And if fans really kind of take to the hard mode that he's essentially designed for the classic game, I could definitely see us reusing that in a later expansion or update or something, because it looks fun.
Yes. So, favorite monster in Isaac? Do you have one?
Favorite monster in Isaac? Just like the way it looks, or
I don't know, man.
the Duke of Flies is my favorite boss design. Like, not design gameplay perspective, but the Duke of Flies is an old design. Like, I think I designed the Duke of Flies the way he looked around the time that I designed Meat Boy. He was one of these characters, these really weird characters, where it was like, I think originally he was a desert boss for a different game that I was working on called Samson, strangely enough. It was called Little Samson or something like that, and you were like this little kid, kind of like Isaac. I tend to design things that echo other things. Like I have these old design documents with old characters and stuff that I really liked, and when I work on something new, as I'm improvising all these things, I tend to have these echoes of old ideas that kind of resonate and come through. And having a child, a bald, naked child, as the main character of the game has actually been a theme in a lot of different older projects that I never really finished or started working on. But in the Samson game, a lot of the enemies, like Dr. Fetus, which was called Mr. Fetus, and Johnny Icicle Dick, and a bunch of other bizarre creatures that I had designed around, and one of them was the Duke of Flies, and he was this desert boss who was essentially a cadaver, like a dead body, rotting in the sun that's been bloated. And he had pants then. And the whole idea was that he has this hive of larvae and flies that kind of animate his body, which is actually referencing an even older idea that I had when I started making games. There's this game called Weltling, and it was this kind of baby bird-looking sack of flesh, which wasn't actually alive, but was just infested with parasites that were animating its body to make it look like it was alive. So, yeah, like that's kind of how I work. But I have a theme that I really enjoy, and I kind of keep messing with it over the years. And the Duke has always been a character that I wish I could do more with. and I'm sure you'll see him in another game because I really like him. I think he's
Maybe a
cool.
standalone with him as the main character.
No, he can never hold. He could never be a main character. You can only do so much when you're a dead thing with flies in you.
Like a
But
RPG with him.
I wouldn't doubt that he'd make an appearance in another game in the future.
Any games, not your games, well, I guess it could be, but any other games that you are looking forward to, like coming out or already out? Or,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to The Witness for sure. Um, I was a playtester for the original years ago, or I wouldn't say original, the beta, and I actually said that I didn't want to be part of the project because I wanted to experience the game, as he intended it. I didn't want the to see the man behind the curtain. I wanted to really experience the whole thing the way he wanted others to experience it. So that's the one I've been looking forward to for a while, for sure. I'm also looking forward to anything by Derek, the guy who made Spelunky. Um, anything to do with Spelunky in any way, hopefully. um, I'm looking forward to another Fallout or another Wasteland. Now, the games that I'm looking forward to, I don't think are even in development. I don't even know. I'm kind of out of the loop. I'm looking forward to, honestly, I'm looking forward to another cooperative multiplayer shooter that I can play with my wife on our TV. I was really hoping that Battlefield would go back to split screen, so me and her could play, but we're forced to only play Call of Duties, which I actually am a big fan of the online multiplayer, even though I feel like Battlefield does it better. Um, but I play that. Me and her play that. I really like any kind of cooperative stuff, which is one of the reasons why I added the co-op stuff in Isaac, because I like playing games with her. And I wish there were more games like that. I like Towerfall, so I guess I'm looking forward to the expansion for Towerfall as well.
all
Can't,
right,
I can't really think of much else. Um, Nothing really on my radar, I don't think.
all right. So, uh, anything in the gaming industry at this moment that you think is good, bad, anything like that?
Um,
Current trends, what are they doing?
well, yeah, I think people's attitudes are bad. Yeah, I mean, I think I've grazed that topic many times in this conversation, but yeah, I do feel like I don't even know how to say this in a way that makes sense, but I wish game developers would stick to game development. I want when I hear a game developer speak, I want to hear about what I know they know about, and which is game development. And I don't want to hear about politics. I don't want to hear about that sort of stuff. I feel like it's tired. It's tired. If you're a game developer and you want to say something about an issue that you um, believe in, like you can do it in your game, and I feel like it's more appropriate to do it there. Doing it outside of that, it just feels like I don't know, like patting yourself on the back or something for no reason. I don't know. It's a definitely a weird bandwagon situation, and I'm fucking sick of hearing about weird. I'm sick of everything. I'm sick of both sides of the fence when it comes to Gamersgate stuff. I'm sick of hearing about. You know how many times I have two major annoyances on Twitter. I try not to even read it anymore, but I've recently become slightly more active, which will probably end me being not active at all soon enough. But I get two different annoying people. I get the conspiracy theorists that are messaging me and saying the weirdest fucking reachy shit that you could imagine, thinking about how, I'm trying to screw. Like there was for a while, it was like, how come you're screwing everybody in Europe because you're not releasing the patch on PlayStation? You're just trying to screw people. Blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking like, what person thinks that we're going out of our way to fuck somebody over? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. If we had the ability to just like press a button and upload that shit to European PlayStations, why wouldn't we do that? There's people out there who believe in this really weird intertwined conspiracy theory that there are so many people out there who are just trying to screw over gamers, and it's bizarre. So I get that annoying thing, and then I get the other side, which some would say isn't the other side. I don't even know at this point. But the other annoyance is people telling me, what about what I'm saying or doing is offending them and how I should speak. And yeah, if you want to annoy me, those are the two things. Both of them revolve around not using logic and not having social skills. And I feel like that kind of encompasses the problem that we are in these days. I feel like people aren't actually compassionate. They're fake. They act like they're compassionate, but they're not being compassionate at all. They're very selfish. They're very selfish, and they're very ignorant, and they just jump on things. Because I don't know why. I'm not the type of person, I guess, that enjoys doing that. So I don't understand the drive for sure. But I'd like to live in a more harmonious environment.
I don't know. They're just bored, I guess.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Like I have to agree. I do think a lot of it is people are bored. People are bored, and people look for controversy and strife because those sort of things make you feel more alive, and they make you less bored, and they give you a mission, whatever. So, but again, maybe it's my problem. Maybe it's my problem. I shouldn't be looking. I shouldn't be looking. I'll default back to the only control that I have over these things, and to say that I'll own up to the fact that I'm looking and being annoyed by these people. So I should just learn to not look and deal.
All right. So now we have fan questions. All right. So first up, Dennis Wynn asks, or more like, asks, I've achieved Platinum God. Can I have my soul back?
No.
It's gone forever, man.
It's gone. I was gonna make a game. I was making a game with Florian. I don't think it. I think that I might have been calling it Hate for quite a while, but it was a game where you would actually sell your soul to me at the end of it in order to complete it, and I was going to collect souls. It was more of an art experiment, if anything else, but we ended up not finishing it.
Kickstarter.
It was either going to be sell your soul to me or sell your soul to Satan. I wasn't too sure exactly which would be the best option to go, but I definitely wanted to play around with the idea of owning souls or people giving me things like that.
All right. Now we're going to go to Reddit, the Binding of Isaac subreddit specifically. So user Insomniac Koala 42 wants to know, are you worried that Super Meat Boy Forever and or Mugenics won't be widely praised as Super Meat Boy and Isaac?
No, I don't. I honestly do not worry about that sort of stuff. It's not. It's not something that I think about because it doesn't really matter to me. When it comes to Isaac, I feel like it'd be hard to, if I were to make another game just like Isaac that was another roguelike, it would be put right alongside of it, and it would have been like, well, Isaac's better, so why even bother? I simply, as a gamer, I wouldn't make a game like that because I know that I wouldn't want to play a game that's the same type of game except not as good. So I mean, when it comes to that kind of genre, I simply will stay away. And neither Forever or Mugenics or anything else that I'm working on right now, for that matter, is really a contender as far as trying to go head to head with it. I feel like Meat Boy and Isaac are so far from each other that they don't need to be compared. I don't, and it doesn't bother me if other people think whatever I'm doing isn't as good as whatever else, because whatever. But the stuff that I'm working on, I feel like is so significantly different that it just doesn't come up for me at all. It's like, oh, that's not as good as that, or won't be as praised. But I don't really care about the praise. It's not a big thing on my list, so I don't really worry about it.
All right. He also wants to know what is your playtesting process like? How will playtesting work with a strategy game like Eugenics?
Oh, playtesting with Eugenics is definitely been odd. But again, it's been on hold for quite a while now, so I haven't dived back into it for a while. That game's design is so incredibly new and strange, so it's hard to see like what people do. But when it comes to playtesting overall, what I usually like to do is just sit somebody down and watch them play and not say a word, and then write down my findings. It's the best way to do. Like if you're a developer and you want to playtest your games, that is the way to do it. You don't tell anybody about anything. You sit them down. You say nothing. You keep your mouth shut, and you watch them play, and you watch them learn, and you watch them figure it out, and then you edit accordingly. And that's kind of how I did it. Number one playtester for Original Isaac was Danielle, my wife. She had probably 200 plus hours before the game came out, and I watched her play, and I watch Let's Plays, like after the fact when I'm working on expansions and stuff like that. I do watch how people play, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy. I paid a lot of attention to that sort of stuff when it came to Rebirth and making sure that we were releasing something that was going head to head with the same product, and I had to make it better. And I feel like I did. So yeah, I just pay a lot of attention to people playing it, and I think I'm a pretty good judge of design as well. Like I feel like if I like it, it's good.
All right. Enclave of Obsidian asks, who the hell at Nicholas came up with the walking host?
Um, I came up with that.
Well, I guess they hate you now.
There were a few designs by some of the guys there, but that wasn't one of them. I think the melty walking guys that turn into bonies when they break apart. That was not one of my designs. I'm trying to think of what the other designs were. Fuck. Oh, the bonies, those I didn't design that, and I think that was probably one of the better designs. That was done by Matt. Very basic, looks great. Looks like something I draw. I was pretty happy with that. There were a handful. There were a handful of enemies um, that were suggested, and I did some minor edits to them. But the bonies were basically straight up like exactly how they tossed them in. I get surprises too. Like I designed a shitload of enemies for the expansion, and I got a new build today, and I was kind of going through. And the way it kind of works is you spawn in different things with different numbers, and you've got this like large number. And I think we're up to like almost 300 enemies at this point in the game. And I think I was on like 280, and I was testing out 280, and then on the update list it said these are the new enemies, right? So go to 280, and that's the last enemy. And I just happened to go to 281, and then there's this weird little butthole thing. I'm like, I didn't design this. I don't think I did anyway, but it's awesome. So they definitely they're all fans of the game, and they know my humor, they know my style, they know what works and what doesn't, and they will throw some stuff in sometimes, and I'll catch it and I'll be like, oh, that works. I don't think there has been a time where something just didn't work, and I was like, veto, it's not going to work. It was always they get it, they really get it. They've been living it for years, so yeah.
All right.
I
Or go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just making sure that I'm positive. I designed the walking host. Yeah.
All right. Everybody now has some place to place all their hate now. All right. So user TDTBAA wants to know if you agree that Vanilla Isaac is very much Florian's Isaac now,
Um. Uh.
or you still claim ownership.
Oh, I guess I'd still claim ownership, but I would say that the hard mode that he added to it is definitely his. Like that was 95% him when it came to all that sort of stuff. He still threw everything at me and said, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" And everything he did was great. I think there's like one or two little edits that I made to some of the early stuff. Just visually, it's like that didn't look like I drew that, so let me update it. You know. But yeah, I would say that all updates from now on are definitely in Florian's court if he wants to do it. He did this out of his love for the game and him just wanting to work. So definitely give him praise for a free update to the old game that still a lot of people play.
All right. Bluio Cappy 12, I think, wants to know, will hard mode be less superficial than it is currently?
There's not. It's definitely not on my radar. If Florian's hard mode turns out to be super awesome, then like I said before, I'd be inclined to try it on for size um, in Rebirth. But yeah, I don't know.
All right. Caroline Johnson wants to ask about the Pokeballs. I mean, the friend ball. Specifically, the limitations. Can it pick up a mini boss? Is each caught monster a one-time use, then you have to pick up a new one? Would it be able to pick up death's heads, masks, or any variety of immobile enemy like hosts?
Um, I haven't tested it on everything yet. I believe it should. I believe it should work on any random enemy. It won't work on bosses. May work on mini bosses. I'm gonna actually try that right now. It depends on how the criteria um, of like how they defined what a boss is and what a boss isn't. So I don't know, but it's definitely something that I've been working on and had to edit a few times because I really like the idea of having a a really awesome find. It's just cool. Like it adds a whole new element to the game. Like once you get the friend ball, I almost want to have like a character start with it just so people can really have fun with the different enemies that they can make fight. I know, like I think I saw a video. One of the things that really inspired this was a video of people in boss rush charming certain bosses to see who would win in a fight, like Monstro versus Duga Flies, who would win. And I thought that was really cool, and that's kind of what inspired the Pokeball.
Digital cockfighting at its best.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. Lost Pretzels wants to know, will we get any old items updated in Afterbirth, such as Spelunker's hat finally actually being a light source?
Um, it's possible. There might already be a lot of little minor edits, and there was an update that I was pushing for that had some little minor things too. It's really hard to remember all this stuff. That's if it's not in, and we said it was going to be in, it probably has to do with just the fact that we've forgotten. So maybe it'll be an update. I don't know. It's not something that I've thought about though.
All right. Sloth Express wants to know, will you when will you say what the new Afterbirth game mode is?
Once it's in the game and I've tested it and I feel like it's good.
All right.
I would imagine that it would probably be one of the last things that I tease though, because it's so significant.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. Smart Guy 725 wants to know, what is your least favorite enemy and boss in Rebirth already?
My least favorite enemy and boss. I feel like Gertie's boring to fight at this point. I feel like Mom is boring to fight too. Like if I could somehow rewrite one of the hardest things one of the lamest things that I ran into during development was the fact that I designed this story arc in a way that made it so Mom always had to be there and her heart always had to be there. And I was designing this game that was supposed to be completely random and always feel different, yet there was always this constant Mom's here and then heart's here, and these fights, and it kind of feels redundant. So those would be my least favorite because they're so repetitive, and I tried to do alts and change it up a bit, but yeah, that's one of the things that I don't really like about the game is the fact that you have to always fight these characters because story wise it has to make sense. And hopefully if we do a sequel I'll be able to get away from that.
All right. Halo Matic, they just want to know when your shop's going to open back up so they can throw money at you.
So obviously the shop has been closed due to a bunch of horrible shit that happened. We also moved last year as well, and now that Danielle is pregnant, it has not been a high priority. But she's recently said that she might open it up for like a week and then close it back down again. The reason why it was closed to begin with was because it was too overwhelming for her to do. Way too many people buying stuff. It was way too hard to get to the post office. She was kind of doing it all herself, and that was essentially her job for quite a while. And then once we moved, we did this kind of slow move over the course of 4 months, and it kind of fucked everything up. So eventually, the store may or not open. I mean, I don't know. We are at the whim of the world and what it wants of us. So
Time to open up a sweatshop.
I did my what I did. The one thing I did do for the people who want swag for Isaac stuff is I signed a contract with Yeti to do T-shirt line, and I feel like I hope that will suffice for the time being, um, and maybe I'll do a few more shirts or something. People can enjoy that, but yeah.
Tom641 wants to know: will we be getting more lost items or not because of the data mining?
Uh, I've designed around the data mine at this point, so there's nothing in the game. I mean, there are going to be a bunch of hidden things in the game that can be data mined and spoiled, but they shouldn't be as significant as the Lost is in terms of what I was trying to do. Like the whole idea of the Lost was supposed to be a mini ARG that the community could solve. Um, that turned out to not be the case. So I'm not doing that anymore. But I definitely still want to have hard to find things, and I will just put them in hard to reach places. So you can't just know how to do it. Like you'll actually have to fight to get there. It'll be a difficult achievement. Take some time.
All right. More about the Walking Coast. Cube the new 42Q and Cryo Crisis both want to know when are you going to get rid of Walking Coast.
Yeah, no. In fact, I'll probably end up making Brimstone Walking Host at this point.
Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Well, here's a large one. EC10 Red Heart wants to know, or says Red Heart meta. Currently, red hearts are currency most people want to get rid of by the end of the game. There are countless items that benefit from 0 or no red hearts, i.e. Polaroid, Whore of Babylon, Negative, etc. And hard mode pushes red hearts over the edge, making them near useless. Is there any plan for Afterbirth for items that reward you for having more red HP?
I think so. Yes. Yep. At least one that's coming to mind that I think is pretty cool.
Alright. Albatrosk 2 wants to know, why did you nerf Dr. Fetus to Oblivion but not Epic Fetus?
I didn't. I think that was a bug. I honestly think that's just a bug that happened that will be fixed in a patch. I don't know what happened. I have no fucking clue, but definitely will be fixed. It's fixed in the build that I have right now. So.
Alright. Sliber Haxor Kutra wants to know, are you excited for the upcoming baby? What are Daniel's thoughts on the big news? This isn't a personal question at all.
Yeah. I think that was probably alluding to the fact that people were there was when the news broke that we were having a baby. There was like a big post about how what I was gonna do with the baby, like completely throwing Danielle out of the question. It was my baby, and all about what I was gonna name the baby and how I was gonna be to the baby, and like she didn't exist at all. But yeah, no, we were both very happy, of course. This was an intended baby. I definitely wanted a change of pace, and I think it'll be a good investment. I'm making a smart investment here. It's a business choice.
Invest in babies. They're hot right now, everybody.
I'm gonna make a really fucking awesome girl who's gonna make really awesome games. I'll force her. I'll force her to make games. She'll be the contender in the I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yep.
Like one of those Olympic children pageants. Yeah. Probably make a reality TV show based on this.
I'm gonna force her into success. There will be no failure here.
She will love you.
The best dad ever.
All right. Milo Peach wants to know what your breakfast of choice is.
Well, I'm waking up at like fucking 5 at this point, so it's harder to find breakfast. But the first thing that I usually eat when I wake up is like a Subway sandwich. So not too fucking exciting. I do if we are on a different schedule and we're waking up when breakfast is being served. My go-to at restaurants is usually like an avocado omelet with like lunch like turkey in it or something. So I'm not a cereal guy. I'm not a big cereal fan.
Oh, that hurts my soul.
And I know there's people that are just such fucking cereal people, but it's just not. Maybe it was just I didn't really have cereal a lot when I was little. I didn't really have breakfast a lot when I was. I'm a breakfast burrito type guy. I don't know if it's apparent from
Hmm.
my shape, my curvy figure. I'm a burrito man.
I mean, if you couldn't afford cereal back in the day, that's what you need to invest in now with your money.
I recently had like a memory of when I was little. I keep thinking back to because I'm a fourth Hispanic, right? And there was a lot of weirdness about that growing up because I didn't know I was, and it was controversial in a way because my grandmother came over to America from Mexico during the Depression, so you were supposed to deny where you came from and stay out of the sun so you weren't too dark and yada yada yada. So my grandma always had this kind of air of I'm an American. I heard her say that a lot. If people asked her where she was from, she would get really mad. And I keep having these memories to these moments in time where like a friend of mine's mom called me Julio all the time, and I thought that was funny. I just thought it was a funny name, and my mom would get really really mad, but never explain to me why she was really mad about it. And then I'm just realizing, oh yeah, she was kind of being racist because I was this little dark bean child. I'd get really dark, and never knew it. But another one I keep remembering is that my pediatrician when I was little was commenting on my weight gain and always said I'm eating too many of those burritos, and my mom would get really mad about it. And I still never understood why my mom was upset about the whole burrito thing. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I get it now. Mexican.
I like burritos. What's wrong?
I love burritos, but
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, I just realizing now that it was a it was a racial comment. Yep.
So you should probably make your games themed breakfast cereal, maybe.
Totally. Uh,
I would
breakfast
eat it.
beans. I eat breakfast bean cereal. Part of my heritage.
Oh yeah. All right. So Orange Pyromancer wants to know: will the new 3DS, Wii U, and Xbox One versions of Rebirth be released at the same time worldwide, or will Europe and Australia have to wait slightly longer for it?
I have no idea. I don't even know when they're coming out. I'm not hiding that information. I have no idea.
All
It's
right.
not my business side. It's not a part that I'm interested in even asking about. I guess I probably could ask and find out the information, but I care so
Ignorance is
little.
bliss.
I care so little that I don't even ask. It's not something I care about. I don't know. I have no idea. Ask Tyrone on Twitter. Maybe he'll tell you.
Noah and the dog wants to know what your favorite item is, and is it still kamikaze?
When did I say that? It's obvious.
Man, don't shoot the messenger.
My favorite item in Rebirth at this point. No, my favorite item in Rebirth is probably Bob's Brain. I think it's a very fun risk reward type item that I've seen yield the most fun results. I'm a fan of the items that uh, have high risk reward to them and significantly change the runs. Like I've seen Danielle accidentally pick up Bob's Brain because she thinks it was the common cold and curse it up and down, but then win with it with like half of a heart left, and totally destroy a final boss with it. And I've also seen her pick it up intentionally and then kill herself like in the next room with it. So I like those type of items. I like
Oh,
those.
all right. Schizo Fern. This, sure has to do with the business side, but not gonna try and not leave anybody's questions out. They want to know if the game's going to be coming out or being released at the same time for all platforms, or will Nintendo fans have to wait a little later to get it?
There's no exclusivity or anything, so there's no reason for them not to come out around the same time. So there's no reason like Xbox going to come out and have an exclusive for a month or whatever else. I don't think that there's. Again, I don't know, but there's no reason for them not to come out around the same time.
All right. Silver Bloop wants to know if Steam game saves will be transferable to the new 3DS version.
What the fuck? People do not understand how video games work. No,
Well,
doesn't work.
can't just type on the keyboard and
They
stuff
don't
works?
connect. They don't connect. They don't connect. They're not going to use the same save. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to happen. No.
Science.
Nope. It's like can I play my Xbox on my 3DS? It's basically the question I feel like I'm being asked. No.
So
No.
you're saying it's a maybe. All right. Next question. SVG. Well, this is a very broad question. About Rebirth. How did you make such a glorious game? How did this game come to life? What were the influences?
Rub two sticks together. I rubbed two sticks together, and let's just say they weren't sticks. Wink. They were stick-like.
Penis joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. King of Pork. The new game mode. He says he does not expect an answer as to what it is. However, he wants to know if will there be any items that only show up in that mode, or if all the new items appear in both.
There won't be new items per se that will only show up there, but there won't be certain items that do. It will have a completely different item pull system, if that makes sense. It's more rigid. It's more rigid, so I have to have more control over it. It'll still be completely random, but item pulls will not be the same.
All right. Quintro asks, do you ever watch Let's Plays or streams? I think you already answered that.
Yeah.
And they also want to know, what do you think of them? Which is your favorite, etc.
I don't have a favorite. I can't choose. I don't want to upset people. I'll just say this. You know who my favorite is.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are, and you're special. Continue.
All right. Shimio090 wants to know, why did the updates take as long as they did for consoles? Couldn't they have nagged Sony to speed it up? Other devs have done it.
Yeah, we did do that. Yes, we did. We did nag. We did nag repeatedly, and they didn't. We're at the whim. Once you do something like that, you're at the whim of when they do it and why. You know, you have no control over it. You can say as much as you want, and it's idiotic to think that we didn't. I'll throw that out. It doesn't make any sense why we wouldn't say, please, can you please upload this? Because people want to play it, and they want to be able to beat it. But we don't, you know, these people are like, yeah, all right. Who are you again?
Shots fired! All right. I Cold wants to know, Mugenics. Ah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you. I feel you.
All right. Garrett22 wants to know, are there any plans to buff or change the Lost, or the methods to unlock his unlockable items in Afterbirth or a future patch?
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe. All right. ASDF 3011 wants to know, how's the work on the Eternal DLC coming out, and is there going to be a Lost equal added, or even an anti-Lost, or an ending where Isaac is found, possibly?
I think that was for Florian, wasn't it? Because I didn't work on that.
Oh, I misread it. It's late where I'm at. Sorry. Alright. Let's see. Okay, yeah, the Nintendo, Smash Brothers, all that good stuff. So, Home Deku wants to know what you think about Isaac maybe getting into Smash with the whole voting thing going on.
It would be nice, but I really do feel like if you're gonna vote, definitely vote for Meat Boy. I feel like he has a better chance. Realistically, I don't think a naked crying child that doesn't fight with anything but his tears will be able to do much in a game like that. But Meat Boy is kind of a perfect fit. So if you're gonna vote, vote for Meat Boy. It's just more realistic, and I think he'd be a lot more fun to play with.
Alright. Metal Clone wants to know, does Isaac have a specific age?
No, I don't think he does. He's young though, obviously.
Alright, so that does it for the Reddit questions. So anything else you would like to talk about concerning anything or whatever before we close out?
No. Uh, No.
Alrighty.
Don't be scared if in 4 months you don't hear from me for a little while because baby.
I mean, what are those? Those don't require attention and stuff. She should be up there typing on the keyboard with you and drawing stuff.
Yeah, I'm putting her to work.
Get that shop open back up with her. Just make her do that.
I'll have her do my Twitter updates.
Alrighty. Well, everybody, since you're already here, you might as well subscribe to our YouTube channel, and be sure to visit our site, TinkTink.org, for all of your gaming needs. Also, if you've heard of Binding of Isaac, or Rebirth, or Super Meat Boy, or any of those other games Ed has made and haven't played them, you should do yourself a favor and go try them out. Also, to be sure to check out Ed's website, edmundm.com. It's got a lot of weird and awesome crap on there. And of course, thank you, Ed, for talking with us today.
No problemo.
All right. This has been Josh Wilson. As always, thanks for listening to TinkTink.org interviews.